Good afternoon, good day, good morning, good night, whatever time you are watching this video. I would like to greet you a good day. And this day, I would like to share to you the next section of our lesson, section 8.4, more about solving equations. If you remember, the previous section teach us about using the different properties of equality in order to solve equations. This section will tell us about solving equations, and the objectives are use more than one property of equality to solve equations and simplify expressions to solve equation. So most of the times, we will be combining the different properties of equality to solve equations. And also, we can solve equation by just simplifying expressions. Remember, to simplify expressions, that means we are combining like terms. We will arrange them in such a way that we can find the value of the variable. Now, we have solved simple equations by using properties of equality. We will now expand our equation solving skills by considering more complicated equations. So, let's begin with the first objective. Use more than one property of equality to solve equations. The given here is 2x plus 6 equals 10. Remember, if you have this sign here as plus, in order to retain the variable term on the left side, we need to apply subtraction property of equality since the sign here is plus. Okay, so we need to subtract or remove 6 from each side. Remember the scale in our previous section. Remove 6 from each side of the equation. So the first step is we will remove 6. So what retains will be 2x equals 4 because 6 and 6 will be cancelled out, and 10 minus 6 is 4. Now, we will use the division property of equality. We will divide, diba? When we have whole numbers or decimals as coefficients of our variable term, we need to use division property of equality. However, if this is fraction, we will use multiplication property of equality. So this time we will apply division property. So we will divide both sides with the coefficient of the left side, which is 2. So 2 divided by 2, we have x, and 4 divided by 2 is equal to 2. Now, we have 2 as the solution. So, the solution of the equation 2x plus 6 equals 10 is 2. So, we will not check that. We will continue with example number 1. So, in example number 1, we are asked to solve 12x plus 5 equals 17. And here, after solving this one, you need to solve the self-check so that after the discussion, you can have more understanding about the lesson. So, pause the video and then solve the self-check. Okay, so what is the solution? Remember that you need to have the variable on the left hand side in the left side and a number in the right side. And when you have created that equation, the solution of the original equation is the same as in the equivalent equation that we will be producing, which x is on the left side and a number which will be the solution of the equation is on the right side. So solution for 12x plus 5. First, since this is addition, we need to remove 5 from each side. So 12x plus 5 minus 5 equals 17 minus 5. And then we will retain 12x since 5 minus 5 is 0 and 17 minus 5 is equal to 12. I'm sorry for the noise outside. I'm not using noise cancelling headphone. I'm in the house because there is mowing around us in the office. Okay, so 12x equals 12. Since this is a whole number, we will use division property of equality. So 12x divided by the coefficient, which is 12, and then 12 over 12. So we get the equivalent equation, x equals 1. Take note, the value of x here is the same as the value of x here at the top. So when you just use your bana-bana here, okay, you know that x here is 1 because 12 plus 5 is already 17. So x equals 1. Now, the checking is given. 12x plus 5 equals 17. And we substitute 1 to the value of x. That is 12 times 1 plus 5 equals 17. 12 plus 5 equals 17. And 17 is equal to 17. Therefore, the solution is 1. Again, when checking solutions, always use the original equation. And class, remember, from the previous section, we know that the solution is not the result of checking, but the number that is at the right side of your equivalent equation. Okay? So, diri nimo kuhaon ang solution, not from the checking. So, let's have this language of algebra. In example 1, we subtract 5 from both sides to isolate the variable term, which happened to be 12x. When we divide both sides by 12 to isolate, then we divide both sides by 12 to isolate the variable x. I hope you have paused the video to solve for the self-check number 1. Now, let's proceed with example number 2. Oh, kakaiba na siya. Nasa left side na ang numeral and the variable or the equation which the expression which contained the variable is on the right side. We will not read them anymore, but we will proceed to the solution. You may answer this first before you're looking at the solution, then do also the self-check, then check your answer at the bottom. Okay, so you may pause the video here. However, you may also continue and go back with the self-check later. So the given was 10 equals negative 5s minus 60. So here we need to take away 60, that is remove 60, because in the not remove but add 60, because the operation is minus or subtraction. So negative 60 plus 60 is nothing. 10 plus 60 is 70. So we have negative 5s as a remaining expression here in the right side. 70 divided by negative 5 equals negative 5s over negative 5, because we are using the coefficient of the variable to divide each expression on the right side and on the left side. So, negative 14, 70 divided by negative 5 is negative 14, and negative 5 over negative 5 is equal to 1, and that means what retains on the right side is only s. So, you have now the prospect solution, okay? Because sometimes we have erroneous solution. Yeah, sometimes you get the value of the variable, but then when you check, it's wrong. That's erroneous solution. So here, let's check if we will get a true statement after checking. So 10 is equal to negative 5s minus 60. So 10 is equal to negative times negative 14 minus 60. So that is 70 minus 60. And we get 10 equals 10, which is true. So the solution for this given 10 equals negative 5s minus 60 is negative 14. Now let's proceed to example number 3. Okay, so we have now a fraction and a subtraction here and a negative right side, negative numeral in the right side. So you may pause the video, copy the example and the self-check, answer them before proceeding to the solution. Okay? So you can do that now. Now let's proceed to the solution to check if your initial answer is correct. Now we have 5 over 8m minus 2. So we need to clean up first of the numerals. So here, because the operator is minus, you need to add using the addition property of equality. You need to add from the left side to the right side plus 2 or 2. So what retains on the left side is 5 8m, and here negative 12 plus 2 is negative 10. Remember, if your coefficient is a fraction, you will use multiplication property of equality, and class, take note, you will use the reciprocal of the fraction. The reciprocal means a number that when you multiply to the coefficient will get 1. Okay? So 8 times 5 is 40. 5 times 8 is 40. So 40 divided by 40 is 1. So you copy m. And then here, again, you only need to multiply the numerator to the whole number and copy the denominator if you will get improper fraction. Not proper fraction, I mean. And then copy the denominator. However, if you can get a whole number, then go on. So 5 and 10 can be simplified. So this will be 1. And this will be 2 because 10 divided by 5 is 2. So 2 times 8. Do not forget the sign. That is negative 2. Copy na lang ako dara. Negative 2 times 8 is negative 16. So the solution to this is equation, 5 over 8m minus 2 is equal to negative 12, is negative 16. So check now by substituting it into the original equation. Surely, 5, let's try to see, 5 over 8 times 16, that will be, cancel out this, negative 16 will be negative 2. So 5 times negative 2 is 10. Negative 10 minus 2 is negative 12. So we get negative 12 equals negative 12. And therefore, the solution is really negative 16. Now, let's continue with example number 4. There are 2 objectives only, and this section is shorter than the previous ones. Okay, solve negative 0.2 equals negative 0.8 minus y. And after solving this, you check your answer. Then you answer also self-check number 4. You may pause the video here. Okay, I hope you're okay, or you already have the solution. So here we have negative 0.8 minus y. So we just need to take away the numeral here to retain the variable. So you add, because this is negative 0.8, you add 0.8. So this can be cancelled out and you get negative y. And then here on the left side, you have negative 0.2 plus 0.8. So you get 0.6. Now you have negative y as 0.6. But we cannot have a negative variable. So since the term negative y has an understood coefficient of negative 1, you still need to solve for the equation. And since negative 1 is a whole number, therefore you still need, you use the division property of equality and divide both sides with negative 1. So now you have y in this side and negative 0.6 in this side. Class, when you teach this, you can do as detailed as this. But when you are just solving for a competition, or if you are coaching a student someday which will be dealing with algebra in their competition sa public schools, then you can do the shortcut, okay? So you don't need to show this portion, just directly transfer the negative sign to the left sign. So left side. So the solution in this given is negative 0.6. So you will be left to check if the answer is correct. Now, you go back to your self-check number 4 and answer it so that you can have more developed skill with the section, and you will check your answer later as we finish this discussion. Okay, number 2. Number 2 is simplify expressions to solve equations. So when solving equations, we should simplify the expressions that make up the left and right sides before applying any properties of equality. Often that involves removing parentheses or combining like terms. So when we simplify, we remove parentheses and combine like terms. So let's start with example number 5. After this, after solving example number 5, you copy self-check number 5 also and do this activity so that you will have something to check with your understanding at the bottom of the video. Okay, so let's start with A, 3 parenthesis k plus 1 minus 5k equals 0, and B, 8a minus 2 times quantity A minus 7 and equal to 68. So let's start with letter A. So, using the distributive property, you distribute this value from the outside to combine like terms, no? Okay? So, 3 times k is 3k, 3 times 1 is 3. Copy the minus 5k equals 0. So, you have now negative 2k plus 3 equals 0. So, what should be the next step? Since this is addition, you need to remove 3 from the left side and remove 3 from the right side. So, you get negative 2k equals negative 3. Since this is a whole number, you apply what property? Division property of equality. So, negative 2 will be the divisor of both left and right sides. So, negative 2 divided by negative 2, that is k, and negative 3 divided by negative 2 will be positive 3 halves. Okay? 3, 2. Now, let's proceed to check if the value that we get from this equivalent equation is a solution. So, substitute 3k, k for 3 halves, or 3 halves for k, 3 halves here. So, 3 and 3, 9 over 2. That could be plus 1. And we can also combine that. So, kaning 1, unsa may denominator na 2 na makakuha kag 1. So, 2 divided by 2, no? Basig nalibog ka, anong 5, 2 dira, pwede siya ni mo ibutang dire, 2 over 2, or the usual, you multiply this to this side. That is 2 times 1 is 2, plus 3 is 5 divided by 2. That could be. So, 3 times 5 over 2 minus 5 times 3 over 2 equals 0. So, 3 times 5 is 15 divided by 2. And 5 times 3 is equal to 15 divided by 2. That is equal to 0. So, since these are like fractions with the same numerator and the same denominator, so when you subtract them, you get 0. And 0 is equal to 0, which is true. And therefore, the solution is 3 over 2. Okay? So, the given 3 quantity k plus 1 minus k, 5k equals 0 has the solution 3 over 2. Caution! You need to take a look of this caution. To check a result, we evaluate each side of the equation following the order of operations rule. So, bisag asa pa mo maabot, bisag unsa pa na degree and level of difficulty in mathematics, we will always apply the order of operation rule. That is the PMDAS or PDMSA. Depende ha. So, pwede ma-interchange ang addition o subtraction, multiplication, and division depending on who comes first in the equation. Dili pwede na unahon jud perminti ang multiplication. No. Kung nauna ang division before ang multiplication, do it first. They have the same priority, ang multiplication and division, and the same priority for addition and subtraction. So here you have, for letter B, so to check. For the check shown above, perform the addition within parentheses first. Don't distribute the multiplication by 3. So, yeah, PM does. Do the parentheses first. Now, let's proceed to letter B. 8a minus 2a minus 7. So, take note, we have a quantity here, and therefore, the numeral from the outside should be multiplied distributively to the characters, to the values inside the parentheses. So we have 8a minus, distribute this, 2a, and since this is minus and this is minus, addition will be changed, subtraction will be changed to addition, and 2 times 7 equals 14, or you just could simply say negative 2 times negative 7 is positive 14, equals 68. Now, the next step is to combine like terms. 8a minus 2a is 6a, plus 14 equals 16. And since this is addition, we need to remove this value from the left side and removes the same amount or value from the right side. So 6a plus 14 minus 14 is equal to 68 minus 14. Now let's proceed. So 6a equals 54 by doing the subtraction. Since a here has still a coefficient which is 6 and it is a whole number, don't forget that we will use the division property of equality. So divide both sides with the coefficient which is 6. So 6 divided by 6 is 1. You don't need to write that as a coefficient because it's understood. So you just copy a, and 54 divided by 6 is equal to a equals 9. So you need to check to verify your answer. The solution is 9. Let's read this. When solving an equation, if variables appear on both sides, we can use the addition or subtraction property of equality to get all variable terms on one side and all constant terms on the other side. So you still need, if if the variables are distributed to each side of the equation, you use still the properties of equality in order to combine them on one side. Kung naay A diri sa left side o napoy A sa other side, so do the properties of inequality, of equality, and then proceed on simplifying your equation. Now let's proceed to example 6. And here we have variables on left side, excuse me, and a variable on the right side. After this, you pause the video, you copy the self-check number 6, answer it, so that you will have more practice of the example. So solve 3x minus 15 equals 4x plus 36. I know you have done this in section 8.2, we combine terms from the other side of the equation. Okay, so 3x minus 15 equals 4x. So these highlighted terms both have are like terms. So 3x minus 15, we will transfer the variables to the right side. So 3x minus 15 minus 3x. Mangutana ka, ma'am, nganong dira man nimo? Because as you can see, 4x is bigger than, this is to lessen the steps that you will need to take when you are solving. So since the variable here has a greater coefficient, so siya na lang imuhang i-follow so that you will not have a negative variable later. So, 3x minus 3x, makancel silang duha. So, what is left in the left side is negative 15. And 4x minus 3x is x, and you copy 36. Now, since this is addition, you need to remove 36 from the right side and also 36 from the left side. So, you get negative 51 because you will add this to negative 15, change the sign of the subtrahend, then proceed to addition. So, i-add mo silang duha and you get negative 51. And then you cancel out this 2 and you get x. Now, you check if the negative 51 from your equivalent equation is really a solution to this equation. So, 3x, x should be replaced with negative 51. Some videos will tell you that you need to plug in. Yeah, it's still valid. Plug in the value of x, which is negative 51 here also. So 3 times negative 51 is negative 153 minus 15. And then here we have negative 204 plus 36. You get negative 168 in both sides of the equation, and which means that the statement is true, and therefore your solution, negative 51, is really a solution of the given equation 3x minus 15 equals 4x plus 3. Now, you need to pause the video. You can pause the video and then go back to self-check number 6 and solve it. Okay? Kay para najud kay mas mupilit na understanding sa imuhang kinabuhat. Class, this is very easy this time, okay? But this principle should be remembered throughout the days of your learning and teaching of algebra. Because if you can really understand this, the basics of this, like the properties of equality, dili siya lisod pag abot mo dito sa higher math. And when you teach, you can also teach in a detailed manner where your students can understand why this step happened. Okay? Dili na basta mauna siya, dili ing ana. We should know why it is put there, why we should use this because of this principle, because of this property. Okay, take note of that. Your solution should be reliable. Okay, so in example 6, the previous example, we would have eliminated 4x from the right side by subtracting 4x from both sides. So kung giingon ganina, kung gi-emphasize ka ganina, na nganong ang 3x atong gi-minus bisan mahimo nga naa sa right side ang coefficient, ang variable. That's because mahimo siyang negative diri. So you will have another another step of the process. However, it is usually easier to isolate the variable term on the side that will result in a positive coefficient. That still will work, but you will have a longer solution. So, pangitaon nimo ang side which the resulting variable will become positive. Okay? So, let's proceed with example number 7. Ang dami pa lang example. Now, you have to apply distributive property, okay, to distribute that distributive property of multiplication. You distribute that before so copy example number 7, or you can solve it before you go on with the solution. Copy also self-check number 7, and after answering this and checking your answer, you can proceed on the self-check so that sige lang kog balik-balik kada example. Mas mutatak pa sa inyong brain ang unsa ganito, ang understanding ninyo with the topic. And the more you practice class, the more accurate you will do. Kanang kumbaga, mura lang gud ng mga basic thing na ginabuhat nato every day sa atong life. When you wake up in the morning, mao ni siya. Mahimo na magud siyang nimong routine. Once nakatatak man na sa imong brain, nanay neurons sa imong brain na in charge with that. So, bisan pagdugay na nimo siya dili matrabaho basta kay and na insert nimo siya sa long-term memory, someday when you need to use it, it will really pop out. Okay? Just like what it says in the writings of Mrs. Ellen G. White nga nung sudlan jud nato atong mga brain with memory verses with precious promises of God from the Bible. Why? Because someday we will use them. If we cannot hold the Bible anymore, if we cannot read the Bible anymore, we have in our mind, even in the subconscious mind, something that the Holy Spirit can get out, no? Can get so that we can still share the Word of God to other people. Okay? So let's proceed to the solution. First, you need to distribute the values outside the parentheses to inside. So 3 times 4x equals 12. 3 times 80 is 240. Here we have 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 40 is 80. Now, since, yeah, actually, you can divide all this part with 2 so that it can be simplified. However, in this example, wala niya gibuhat. So, hinay-hinaya na lang nato ning trabaho. Okay. Number. Now we have combined like terms. 12x plus 6x equals 18x. Copy the negative 240. So you have 2x plus 80. 2x plus 80. Now the question, which side of the equation will give you a positive variable later as you go along? Of course, it's the left side because 18x is greater than 2x. So first, you need to subtract 2x from each side, subtraction property of equality, so that all your variable terms will be on the left side. So 18x minus 2x will be 16x. Still, you have negative 240. But here, you can cancel them out. So what is left is 80. Since this is subtraction, you need to add 240 to each side, which will make this as 0, so you will retain 16x, and 80 plus 240 will become 320. Now, since we have still the coefficient for x, you need to divide both sides with the coefficient, which is 16. So 16 divided by 16 is 1. So you copy x na lang. 320 divided by 16 is 20, and you get x equals 20. Hala, oy. Okay, kana siya. So the solution is 20. Now you can check if the solution really is 20 by checking it. So the previous example suggests the following strategy for solving equations. You won't always have to use all 4 steps to solve a given equation. Okay? Dili tanang panahon kani jud silang upat ka steps imuhang gamiton kung mag-solve kag equation. But if a step doesn't apply, skip it and go to the next step. So strategy for solving equations. First, simplify each side of the equation. Use the distributive property to remove parentheses and then combine like terms on each side. So for examples like the example given in number 6, you can use distributive property and combining of terms. Second, isolate the variable term on one side. So that is the next step. So pasunod yun ni siya. Isolate if they are applicable. This is really a step-by-step procedure in solving equations. So isolate the variable term on one side. So, maotong kaganina, ibalhin mo una ang mga variables to the sides which will give you a positive variable at the end of the process. So meaning didto nimo dalon sa mas dako na value sa imuhang variable. Mas dako na value, not the absolute value ha. So kung positive siya, mas dako gyud na siya kaysa sa negative. Number 3, isolate the variable. So continue, multiply or divide to isolate the variable using multiplication or division property of equality. And the last thing is you need to check the result. Okay? Usahay class, as far as I can remember, some of the solution will not be check. Kaya nga naman, ang solution kay fraction. And if you have a hard time dealing with fraction, you will really have also a hard time checking the result when your solution is fraction. Okay? So therefore, I would like to encourage you, if you have still difficulty dealing with fractions, with the principles that you need to master in fraction, go over that portion. Okay? Kay para yeah, mastery is needed. So these are the 4 steps in solving equations. Now, answers to self-check. Please check your papers. 1 is 7, 2 is negative 12, 3 is negative 36, 4 is negative 3.9, 5A is 1, 5B is negative 11, 6 is negative 16, and 7 is equal to 29. So I hope you have gotten something out of this video presentation. Thank you very much for watching and continue to learn more. Love math, okay? Make your hobby, make solving as one of your hobbies and continue to be an inspiration. God bless you. Thank you.